Tiruchitrambalam. Saint Manikavachagar sings in his Thiruvachakam in a decade called Tiruchazhal, Tayumili Tandayumili Tantaniyan Kanedi, meaning he has no father, no mother, and he is a loner. But our Lord, when Karaikal Ammayar was approaching Kailasha, his abode, with legs up in the air, walking on her head, said to Parvati, "Look, our mother is coming. Ammaye." Our Lord Shiva calls her as mother. Arunachala, Arunachala. What else do we need other than this to consider her as the foremost of the Lord's devotee? Hence, we are starting our journey into the lives of 63 Nayanmars with our dearmost mother, Karaikal Ammayar.
மொழி பயின்ற பின்னெல்லாம் பிறந்து மொழி பயின்ற பின்னெல்லாம் காதல் சிறந்து
Tiruchitrambalam, the divine story of our mother, Karaikal Ammayar. A wraith that walked on its head. She who saying, "I will not tread with my feet the sacred mountain of our Lord," walked on her head with both her feet pointed above, who was privileged to be hailed my mother by the Lord of red golden body. When Uma laughed at the sight, she is the treasure of the family in Karaikal, where pure honey seeps from the boughs of trees. So said Nambiyandar Nambi. There was a comely young girl who was the only daughter of a very rich merchant in Karaikal. Like many rich fathers of an only daughter, the rich merchant was not willing to part with her, the apple of his eye, and therefore persuaded his son-in-law to leave his own town and his parents' home and settle down in Karaikal itself. Many daughters in such circumstances would have turned out to be not so ideal a wife, but our girl, who was christened by birth as Punitavati, but was later reverently hailed by no less than a person than Lord Shiva himself as Ammaye, "O mother mine." She was full of all the housewifely virtues. Secular describes her thus: "Our Lady of silken tresses, who settled down to a wifely life as excellent maid to him, her husband, even while wearing ardent love unto the sacred feet of the Lord with the rampant bull, vastly increased unceasingly in her heart, performed the traditionally handed down household duties without failing in the noble quality of a wife. If devotees of our Lord came, she served them good unpolluted food, and moreover, according to their deserts, she gave them gold and gems and good clothes, whichever they needed. While she continued to live like this with increasing fervor to the sacred feet of the Lord of the heaven dwellers, one day her husband sent from his shop 2 mangoes with instructions to keep them for his dinner. But before he could come, a devotee came and, as was her custom, respectfully invited him to partake of food in her house. But as the vegetable curry was not yet ready, it occurred to her that the mango would be a suitable side dish for the devotee, and accordingly served him one of the two, which he ate with relish and went away. In due course, the husband came and sat for dinner. When he was taking his food, she brought the remaining mango and served it to him. The fruit was so delicious that he asked her to serve him the other one too. She left the place as if she was going to fetch it. Here, let Sekira take up the story. Standing aside there, she gave way to despair. What could she do for the delicious fruit? She became lost in thought. But the moment she recollected in her mind the feet of the Lord astride in bull, who helps one in distress, in her hand reposed an extraordinarily sweet fruit. On bringing it along and serving it with joy, he ate it, and finding that its taste was greater than nectar, he said, "This is not like the fruit you served before," and asked of the bangled dame, "As this is unobtainable in all the three worlds, where else did you get it from?" On hearing these words, the lady would not reply, thinking that the merciful one's remarkable great grace was something that should not be revealed. At the same time, on account of wifely virtuous life that she led, she thought that not to respect the husband's query was not correct behavior and was in a dilemma. To say, as it happened, is my duty, said to herself the high principled lady, worshipped with her mind the feet of Lord with dusky throat. And to the husband who asked, "Who gave the fruit which I have now received?" The lady of sweet smelling soft dresses told, exactly as it happened. When the husband heard that it was the grace of God, he would not believe it and said, "If it is so, get me another by his grace." Thereupon, the wife went aside and after praying in her mind, said to the Lord adored with snakes, "If you would not graciously give me this one, here and now, my words would turn false." Lo, forthwith a mango fruit materialized in her hand by the grace of God. On her giving it to the hands of her husband, he received it with amazement. Forthwith the merchant could not see the fruit which had come into his hand. Overcome with unallayable fear and his mind in a whirl, he thought the lady of bejeweled tresses was some strange goddess and decided to leave her, did not tell anyone about it, but lived apart without relationship with her. Very soon he equipped a ship for a mercantile expedition and departed from Karaikal to a country he had in his mind. There he prospered exceedingly well, but soon sailed again and settled down in the sea coast town in Pandinadu, where he prospered, and in course of time he married the daughter of a local merchant and had a daughter by her whom he named Punitavati in memory of his godly wife. Words reached the father of Our Lady that her husband was living thus in a town in Pandinadu, and he forthwith collected some of his relatives and took her down to the town with the intention of confronting his son-in-law with his wronged wife. Arrived there, he sent word for the young man about the arrival. Sekira relates. On hearing words of their arrival, the merchant grew frightened in mind, and saying to himself, "I shall forestall them, taking with me the charming wife I have since married, and the girl child she had borne me," he went up before the lady of lovely tresses. There, along with the wife and toddler, he bowed at the feet of the doe-like wife, who has risen to her feet on his arrival, and saying, "I am leading a life here by your grace only, and on that account, this little child bears your name. He fell prostrate before her. To the astounded relatives of the former wife, who angrily asked him, "What do you mean by worshipping your wife?" He replied, "She here is not a human being. After I learnt of her being a very great God, I left her, and I have named after her this child, which I later begot. That was why I fell at her golden feet. Do you too similarly worship her?" The lady of fragrant tresses, on hearing the words of the merchant, paid obeisance to the anklet resounding feet of the Lord with matted locks, adorned by condray flowers, and said, with a heart surcharged with emotion, "Ha! This is the point of view this man has in mind. In that case, this mass of beauty laden flesh, which I endure for this man's sake, I should discard here, and I should get an appropriate wreath form, with which I may pay obeisance to your feet there." Saying so, she stood meditating on the feet of the transcendent one. That very moment, by the grace of the dancer of the hall in Tillai, experience of lofty wave surged up in her, and she gained what she craved for. She shed all the beauty inherent in the flesh of her body, and with her body reduced to a skeleton, she became a wraith, worshipped by the earth and the heavens. Karaikal Ammayar herself describes her apparitional appearance thus: "Thiruvalangadu is the place where our father, with his matted locks, swinging in all eight directions, dances the fire dance, to the delight of his limbs in the hot cremation ground, where a female wraith of shriveled breasts, swollen veins, protruding eyeballs, white teeth, sunken stomach, fiery red hair, two protruding fangs, arched insteps, and long shanks, was staying and shrinking. She was filled with an overpowering desire to go to Kailasa mountains, the abode of Shivan. Crossing all the northern countries with a speed faster than the mind's, she neared the dazzling Kailasa mountain, where abides the Lord, wearing a garland of condray flowers and wielding a trident in his hand. There she gave up walking on her feet and ascended the mountain, walking on her head. Uma, the spouse of Shivan, saw this apparition and in amazement exclaimed to her Lord, "O my Lord, amazing is the love of the bony frame, which is coming up here, walking on its head." He replied, "Note, she who is coming up is a mother who cherishes us, and this glorious form she prayed for and obtained." Then, as she came near, looking at her, he graciously uttered the momentous, unique word, "Oh, my mother, that the world may be redeemed." Looking at her, who, saying in response, "Oh, Father," when the Lord of benevolent eyes graciously called her, "Oh, Mother," bowed down and fell at his feet, lotus like golden red feet, and stood up. The Lord, adorned with white conch shell earrings, asked, "What do you want from us here?" On him asking thus, she paid obeisance to him and proceeded to answer him. After she had prayed for undying blissful love unto him, she further prayed, "Not being born again, I want. But if there is a birth again, the boon of never forgetting you, I want. Moreover, O righteousness incarnate, I pray that I should rejoicingly sing about you, and when you dance, I should stand at your feet. and he graciously commanded her to go to the ancient town of Alangadu and witness his great dance and, ever filled with bliss, sing his praises. Even so, she walked back to Alangadu and there abode and sang in several poems the praise of Lord. There has been no one else among the devotees of Shivan who reached the Kailasa mountain and came back. It is true that Sundara rode to Kailasa on an elephant and his friend Cheranman Peruman Nainar rode up there on a horse, but they never came back. Thirunavukarasar attempted to ascend the Kailasa mountain, creeping on his chest, afraid to place his foot on such a sacred place. But he was stopped halfway by the Lord, who came in guise of a sage and told him that no human being has ever come or can come to Kailasa mountain, and therefore bade him to go back. But to Karaikal Ammayar, it was given not only to reach the presence of Lord in Kailasa mountain, but also to be called, "Oh Mother." Not only that, it was her great privilege to return to human world after this unique experience and live long, even though as a wreath, and sing the praises of the Lord. Karaikal Ammayar was an ideal wife, an ideal devotee of God. Love of the Lord was her equipment. Love was her craving. Love was her life. And love was her boon. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.
முத்தி தரவல்ல முகிழ்மென் முலையாள் உமை பங்க முத்த முத்தி தரவல்ல முகிழ்மென் முலையாள் உமை பங்க உமை பங்க உமை பங்க சித்த சித்தி தீரம் காட்டும் சிவனே திறம் காட்டும் சிவனே தேவர் சிங்கமே சித்த சித்தி திறம் காட்டும் சிவனே தேவர் சிங்கமே சித்த சித்தி திறம் காட்டும் சிவனே தேவர் சிங்கமே தேவர் சிங்கமே தேவர் சிங்கமே பத்த பத்தர் பல்லர் போற்றும் பரம பழைய நூர்மேய பத்த பத்தர் பல்லர் போற்றும் பரம பழைய நூர்மேய பழைய நூர்மேய அத்த ஆலங்கடவுன் அடியார்க்கு அடியேன் ஆவேனே.
இரவாத இன்ப அன்பு வேண்டி இரவாத இன்ப அன்பு வேண்டி பின் வேண்டுகின்றார் இரவாத இன்ப அன்பு வேண்டி பின் வேண்டுகின்றார் பிறவாமை வேண்டும் மீண்டும் பிறப்பு உண்டேல் உன்னை என்றும் மறவாமை வேண்டும். இன்னும் வேண்டும் நான் மகிழ்ந்து பாடி இன்னும் வேண்டும் நான் மகிழ்ந்து பாடி அரவா நீ ஆடும்